Beautiful Veronica. I am so excited to have you here. And I just want to say again how much I appreciate you and your graciousness. Listener, this is actually the second conversation Veronica and I have had due to some technical difficulties. That beautiful connection point was lost, and she was so gracious to come back. And I'm really excited because I know that everything happens for a reason. And even in the few seconds that we were talking before I hit record, I thought, ooh, I'm so eager to hear this new enlightenment and these new learnings. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Wendy. And I've enjoyed following along on your Instagram and seeing all of your adventures as well.
Thank you. Yes, there's been quite a few adventures of late, which has been really, really fun. And I'm excited to hear what's been new with you since we chatted a few months ago. But how would you say that you are saying yes to yourself in this season?
Yes, love that question. I am leaning into my values this point in my life through music and service. I published my first book last year and started my financial coaching business after several years of having it on my mind and also personally paying off over $100,000 in 3 years on a starting income. And so I wanted to share that with others and help others with that same situation, gaining control of their money and uh, you know, stopping the paycheck to paycheck cycle and regression back into debt. So how do you finally break free from that? And at this point, later on in the year, have finished my first round of coaching clients with great success. So lots of learnings and lots of testing in this first year.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. Those are all amazing things. Now, I know that your book is about the journey of getting out of six figures of debt, which is so phenomenal. And you mentioned honest starting income. So, just for clarity, I think I already know the answer to this, but I just want to be clear. You did that through this amazing process that everyone needs to read the book if they're in this situation or want to avoid this situation. You did that on a salary from a job or from your own business?
Yes. So I had the scenario outlined in the book is I had just finished my MBA. Thus, I had finished a whole round of undergrad, graduate school, and had the six figures of debt. And this was my first job. So W-2 salary for a commercial real estate company. And that is where I saw in the real world how high net worth individuals were managing money and how they were deploying capital and buying assets. And I was able to be involved with creating multi-million dollar property management budgets. And I realized, oh my gosh, I have an economics degree, I have a business degree, thought I was doing a budget right. Nope. It wasn't until I saw it operating in the real world that I was like, oh my gosh, they do things so differently. And that's when I was able to apply it to my personal life. And then when I was finishing off paying the debt, it was 2020. And I also have a dual career as a singer. And all of my creative friends overnight, because of COVID, lost all of their contracts. And so it just started with service to my musician friends, giving webinars and like, how do we prepare our money for this type of event? I had just done
Mm.
this incredible thing, and I just felt called to share what I learned and about how rich people manage their money. And then I just had it on my mind for a while, and so decided to formally start the business and put my story on paper.
Oh, it's so good. And I have the book. I have not read it yet, but I'm very excited. As you can imagine, I interview a lot of authors, so I have a lot of books on my TBR pile, but I just love the generosity associated with your experience, because it could be easy to never speak of that, to be as quiet as possible and never admit a quote unquote mistake, which it's not a mistake. And shame and guilt and all of these things are just vehicles that keep us from our highest and best. And I love how not only did you turn the tables on your own financial situation and the methodology that you used to get there, but you also turned the tables on speaking about things that a lot of people don't speak about, which of course makes it so attractive and people want more of that. So, of course, you've had a successful round with coaching clients. And of course, the book is doing so well. And of course, you're going to just continue to grow in impact and efficacy as you share these stories, because the old way is just not working in every area of our life.
I love that. Thank you for calling that out, Wendy, because it is so true. When I went to write my first chapter of the book, it was the hardest chapter, not only because there was nothing on the page, but also because I had to make decisions of how vulnerable do I want to be? How much do I want to share? It is like it was to me shame. I did carry a lot of shame with it. How much do I want to go into what I had to dig through emotionally to get over, what was holding me back money wise. So yeah, there was that balance of like, how much do I share? How vulnerable do I be? But that is how you connect with people. Just, not only am I showing them the steps, the tactical steps, but I understand the emotional burden that they're carrying because I went through it myself.
Of course. And that just makes you so great as not only a storyteller, but as a coach as well. And it's so interesting, isn't it? Like we create these narratives for us based on actual information. Like you have the paper that says this is how much you owe. And like you said, the shame, that's such a heavy, uncomfortable feeling, as if you got into that position by abusing drugs and alcohol and gambling your kids' tuition away. It's like you did it. You found yourself, not found yourself, you were in that situation because you were educating yourself. And it costs money to live. It costs money, as you, I'm sure, are learning. It costs money to start a business. And I would love to hear so many things that you have to say, but I'm interested in how the transition from a W-2 job to your own business, how that has been for you as now an expert in the finance world. Like how are you managing the practical and the emotional in that transition?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, a lot
Asking for a
of
friend.
okay. So a lot of the confidence that I gained to start this business actually came from singing. So, being a singer, being a creative, you are an independent contractor, and so you are your own business. So I've been familiar with that for a long time. And I actually worked with a music business coach. My husband is still active duty military, and we got restationed a few years ago to the West Coast. So I was an unknown. I talk about this in my book as well. I was an unknown in a new market, having to reestablish myself. And I'm like, it was after COVID, things opened up. I go to my first audition, there's 300 people.
Oh my.
And I was like, oh my goodness, because everything's opening up and everyone has been shut out for a while.
Yeah.
Um, it's just bananas with the amount of people auditioning. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to break through if this is going to be how it's going to be at cattle call auditions. So I have to
Right.
try something different. And I hired a friend of mine who is a music business coach who had been his own agent, and he was able to help me establish my brand and business in this region. And I've been doing really well with having my own contracts here. And there was a light bulb moment in there where I had been working in the business space for over a decade. I've been working on my music for multiple decades at this point, and I had always compartmentalized them, and I
Mm.
never thought to put them together. And that was when things clicked for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm applying my business practices because I've always worked for startups. I've been involved in sales, operations, marketing. I put all of those skills to use on my music business, and then things started to take off. So just being like, oh my gosh, I have built all these skills over the years, and here's how I'm applying it to this business, and I'm seeing the results of it. Now I had this, idea in my mind about this financial coaching business, and I'm like, I have all the tools and the skills I need. It's just putting myself out there at this point and like doing the work. So that actually the music side gave me a lot of confidence in launching into the financial coaching business. And then from a practical standpoint, a lot of the coaching, this is my first time doing B2C. So there was a
Okay.
lot of learning that I knew that I was gonna take in this venture, but I was like, well, I have a business background. It's just like gonna be some new net growth for me. A lot of the personal branding stuff is knowing what your unique point of view is. So I had to come, finance, it's not like there are tons of financial gurus out there, but there's no one that's me. And so it was like, what are the things that make my story and my technique unique? And so distilling that has been important, and I'll continue to hone that story. And then also, I would say that in transitioning, um, time management has been something I've had to deal with. And about a quarter ago was feeling super overwhelmed between I am still working a day job in the finance space. So I'm a senior manager at a technology company. And then I have my singing business and I have my coaching business. So I was like, something's got to give. I'm feeling very underwater. I'm feeling out of control. What I did was a time audit. So I
Mm.
took time just to think, what does an ideal day look like for me? What does it look like right now, not successfully? And then
Right.
I pulled that out, like, what does a good week like for me, and what does a good month look like for me? And my main takeaways were, I really need to go to bed earlier.
Mm.
That allows me to wake up the next morning the time that I want to. I time block like crazy, so I'm only doing one activity at a time and have to be reasonable. It's actually been good that I've worked for a technology company for several years because instead of being disappointed all the time that I can't do all the things, I've learned the technique of road mapping. And,
Mm. Say
so I'm like,
more.
okay, so in technology, they have what's called a product roadmap. And
Okay.
they just get at what is called an MVP, or a minimum viable product, out to market. And, the products are only going to be perfected as you get feedback from real users. So that just getting out the minimum viable product, like I also feel because it's like a calling for me, I feel like I need to get out as soon as possible because I'm not helping people every minute that I wait for something to be perfect, right?
Right.
Where I
Yes,
could be
yes, yes. Say that again.
every minute that I let perfection stop me from launching something, I am not helping, I'm not serving. So even if it's got to be messy, even if the execution is messy to start, I do feel like a compelled to do this work and called to do this work. And I have gotten results for people, which is so exciting. And yes, the templates could be prettier. And yes, the website could be prettier, but the results are really what matters. Changing lives is what matters. And I do feel from doing that audit and being super clear about where my time is going and that it's aligned with my goals and that my goals are realistic and I'll eventually get there, but I'm not burning myself out along the way.
Mm.
And I'm actually just doing the most high leverage activities that I can in any given week. What's going to move the needle the most?
Okay.
I got to focus on that one thing. And if I do that one thing that week, then I'm happy. But I'm
That's
moving the needle
amazing.
every week.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And then here's your sideline course of time management because I mean, really, like, let's create a PDF and that can be your freebie. We'll give everyone a link in the show notes. I mean, really, because that is, of course, I can Google management skills, but I, at this point in my life and just my personal preferences, I prefer information that's been curated on my behalf. So I want someone who I've met to tell me what worked for them, and I know how to pull what's in alignment for me out, but I don't want to look at every single person's idea of how to save time because that is a giant waste of time. So I love this. I love the road mapping. I love you said it's a minimum viable product.
That's correct.
I love that because I mean, how many sweet female entrepreneurs go out of business with the most beautiful website, but they never made a dollar because they spent 5
Amen.
years working on that dumb thing. And, you know, like oh my gosh, I love this so much. I love that your music business helped you already have the chops required for visibility. And there are so many things that the listeners of this podcast are involved in. Sometimes there's a midlife reinvention, right? So we're trying something new and we have imposter syndrome and all of these things, but to be reminded that this is a new venture, but you're not new. Like you've learned these skills, you've actually practiced these skills, you've actually been paid for these skills by other people at a W-2 salary job or a W-2 job, but you are now implementing them in high level, high touch service to people that are sitting in front of you. It's just so rewarding.
Yes, it's definitely rewarding and it's so nice to be able to reconcile all the pieces of my personality that I kind of have been hiding away depending on which employer I'm talking to. So, the music employers don't really know much about my business stuff and then vice versa. So, this has been a really beautiful way of piecing all that together and like making all the parts of me whole.
I love that so much. And the compartmentalizing is not in service. And when you put all of those things together, this is interesting. When you put all of those different elements together, instead of having something that's larger, it's actually more defined and focused. So the fact that you can provide for a lot of people, but really skillfully, financial management practices for musicians, like that's incredibly niched and so needed and so valuable. And of course, you can do this for people that are not musicians, but when we market to an ideal client, it doesn't mean those are the only people that are going to be our client. It means that we actually have clarity when we're speaking because we're talking to one group of people. And anyone that sounds good to, whether they can sing or play or perform or not, they're still going to be drawn to you.
That's right. Yeah. So anyone with like some creativity in their heart, I'm sure.
Right. Right. I mean, and even if you did it for vocalists or it's like for people that watercolor. I have a friend who she's very creative and she's licensed her work, her hand lettering to major brands and all of these things. But now she is zeroed in on pastels. and she creates beautiful art. There's a couple pieces behind me that she was an artist in residency here at the Phineas Wright House while I was on a trip to France. And she's narrowed down so much in her creative repertoire, and she's actually reaching more people
Wow.
with this focused energy than she was when she was just not just a creative, but had a wider reach with her brand.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Because
It's
you can
fast,
really dig into what they're feeling and their very specific problems. Yeah.
right? And you can speak to them so clearly. And the pricing of that offer also gets to the narrower your focus, the higher the value as well. So you could, Alex Hermosi talks about this
Mm.
in $100 million deals or whatever offers. What is that book? $100 million
Offers?
offers. I think that's
Offer.
what his book, I think it is.
Use
Um,
three of them.
oh, offer, right? Yeah. And he said, like, if you have a time management package, but then if you have a time management package for landscapers,
Mm,
like then
super
you know
focused,
your
curated.
audience, but you can price it higher as well.
Right. So like
Okay.
super specific to that audience. It's really cool.
Yes. Oh, it's so fun. I'm also interested in if you're willing to share. Obviously, everyone will buy the book and you're not going to read us the whole thing. But I'm interested, what was one or two ways that you witnessed these high net worth individuals managing their money that seemed like a light bulb moment for you?
Yeah, so I would say one thing is that whenever they were taking on a new venture, there was not a concept of, I've never done it before, so I don't know how to do it, and it's not possible. It was like, how do we do it? Who are the right people to bring in? So the concept of who, not how.
Mm,
So that was one thing, is just like anything was possible. So
yes,
that
I
was a
love that
really
book too.
great mindset. Yes, I love that book as well. And then I'd say the other thing that was just the one of the biggest takeaways was how long-term in their vision they are. So I
Mm,
was, how do you get out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle when you literally are managing paycheck to paycheck? You're not even going out. I teach what's called strategic budgeting now because they do, let's say, 3, 5, 10-year projections out. And
wow.
they are like, I want this outcome. Now, how do we back into making that happen? So it
Mm,
is literally making the outcome happen because it is planned for, and then you're just following the steps to execute it.
oh my gosh. It's so good. It's all mic drop after mic drop for someone who is creative, who is an entrepreneur, who is learning these things. And I've been in it long enough that I'm actually getting to implement some of these things and see results and see how that's fascinating what you just said about strategic budgeting, because it's so much of what I'm doing in my morning practice with just energetically, like becoming the woman, the
Mm,
future version of myself. The
I
idea that
love
I
that,
could
putting that
also
together.
do that for my budgeting, that all of a sudden makes budgeting very attractive to me.
That makes perfect sense.
Right? Oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm so glad that our first recording got, I don't even know what happened because this is so good. Yeah, because there can
Awesome.
be, for me personally, just based on my past experience, any form of budgeting was just a way of telling me that I couldn't have what I wanted or do what I wanted or be who I wanted to be. So I was not interested.
That
And
makes sense.
right. But,
Yeah.
avoidant princess strategy is not really a strategy. Like the mortgage company does not like that strategy and it's not in service. Right. So I've been over the years in this process of shifting my narrative about my resources and about budgeting and spreadsheets, and QuickBooks is now my boyfriend and all of these good things. But it's been because someone has, or a group of people have lovingly walked me through dismantling a narrative that's not in service and then rebuilding a practice that I get to inform.
So
Right?
cool.
Like when we're due, I'm a super fan now of strategic budgeting. I can't wait to be one of
Love
your
it.
clients,
I love it.
right? Because that's all I'm doing every day. So to have those two things married instead of, one saying you can be, do, and have anything you desire, and then the other one
Mm.
saying no, you can't. It just it obviously it um you're not going to go anywhere because you've got your
Right.
foot on the gas and the brake at the same time.
Yes, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah. So that is what you just said is what I do with my clients. I will handhold them and do the budgeting for them because I want to give them hope right out of the gate. It is not about, people don't want to sacrifice if they don't understand what the sacrifice is for and what it's going to look like at the end, in the end state. So it really
Exactly.
is about what do you want the future state to look like? And here's how I think that we can tactically do this. But this is what it's going to look like at the end. Then you're much more motivated if you're like, oh, shoot, if I just implement these tips from Veronica, I can knock this out in 1 year or 2 years, whatever the case may be. And they're like, oh my gosh, there's a roadmap to it. I just have to do the things now. Then it's you're willingly trading these things. So I talk about intentional trade-offs as well, because
Mm.
that's often what I find is like you said, they're stepping on the gas and they're stepping on the brakes. So they'll come to the table and be talking themselves out of it. They're like, oh, but this, but I need to spend for that, but I need, and I'm like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Um, because you're already putting up roadblocks, but you're not being open to any of these suggestions that you say you want this outcome, but you're not willing to do what's required to get there. But if I could lay out, that's what it is like unlocking the fear of the unknown is so putting it on paper. So there's no unknown there anymore. And here's what I would do. And here's how quickly I think you can get there because we want to do it as fast as possible, right?
Right.
But I always use, what are the value, what are your top values?
Mhm.
And we want to make sure that we're spending in alignment with our values. Because I often find that people, it's not that they don't aren't making enough money. And I talk about those who have been able to increase their income, but they're just stagnant and they're not seeing any progress. And they're like, what the heck is happening? I'm spinning my wheels over here. And it's usually just that they don't know how to strategically deploy that money.
Hmm. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, so they're spending kind of impulsively or just spending out of habit. They're not strategically looking at every line item and saying, "Am I even using that thing? Am I getting like value out of this thing that I purchased that's now an ongoing forever subscription? Am
Right.
I using this thing? Can I sell this stuff collecting dust in my garage that I purchased and thought I would use and never used?" So it's really about being intentional with the resources that we are given and making sure they're in alignment with that our spending, our time, our management of money
Mm.
is all in alignment with the greatest and highest use and the highest value that we envision.
Oh, it's so good. And I love that although your focus is on finances, it's just the way that we're wanting to live our life in every area. So it's actually not hard. It's just not practiced over here, you
That's
know?
right.
Because
Yeah.
even when we talk about having a morning practice, which I have had for almost 5 years. Wow, can't believe that. That's so great. It has 100% changed my life. It's a non-negotiable. I get up at 4:45 every day unless I'm on a red eye or was up too late. But I make my decision the night before that I'm not going to get up at 4:45. And so, although sometimes my schedule changes, my routine doesn't. So I'm still committed to that practice. And when I say that, sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I could never get up that early.
Mm.
Well, there's something about, casting a vote for the person you're becoming and doing this thing. As soon as you get results, it's not early anymore. And as soon as you see that you're
Yes.
intentional about what's going on your budget and how you're spending, and you're just mindful, it's not limiting. It's actually
Hmm.
limitless because
Yes,
you're conscious of it and you're putting intention. And that is what we know to be the key that unlocks infinite abundance. So it's just allowing, it's like you're pre-paving the road that all of these things are going to come to you. And
I
if
love that.
you don't like take care of the road, it can't come to you.
Yep, exactly. And even just what you said there before, of like, I can't do that. Uh, and like you said, once you start getting the results. So I have a client that I just started working with, and she was super underwater in her finances. She's like, I don't even know where to begin. And I gave her like 15 things to work on. But I said, hey, let's do these top three high leverage activities first. Then we're doing like one each week that we're working on. And sh in 3 weeks, she increased her monthly cash flow by $1,000.
Oh,
And she
yay.
was in a meeting with me and she was like, I can't believe it. Like, it's just, yeah. So, and a lot of that is just having the courage to show up and be willing to say, I have this issue. I want to work on it. I'm willing and open. I'm an
Yeah.
open vessel. Just show me the way. But then showing her okay, here's what I'm trying to get at. And but I need you to work on these things. I can't do them for you, but here's what I would do. And just being willing to do that and seeing the immediate progress because it all is that out of alignment spending, just realizing, oh shoot, I'm spending way more than I thought I was on here, or like, oh wow, I can cut this because I don't use this anymore. Why am I spending money on this? So it is once you start to see one thing, you start to see it all over the place.
Right.
And it just compounds.
Oh, it's true. And the things that we're avoiding, we create this narrative about them. For example,
Mm.
QuickBooks. I had a bookkeeping company doing QuickBooks for me because I had a terrible practice. Well, I'm going to call it a practice. It was of not doing it. So I can't really call that practice. I would wait until February and then go back through all of my receipts because I keep everything and I know stuff, but I just wasn't aligned with the process of taking this information and putting it on this spreadsheet that was created for me because I just manage information differently as a wedding planner. I would have all of the expenses organized by a client. And so I know every vendor for that wedding and I know it all. I have it all
Mm.
in my head. I could do 15 weddings in a year and know that if this was from Mayflower Bakery, that was Megan and Travis, and that was May 3rd. I
Wow.
know every like that is actually true. Those are the people, and that's the date, and that's the bakery. So when a different system was told to me that I needed to do, it was by month. And felt so scattered and chaotic to me that I wasn't drawn to enter the information. Would that have been quote unquote easier to do it monthly? Sure, but if that's not how my mind organized this information, it wasn't easier. So I would put it off and then I'd be, in some instances 14 months from the wedding and trying to recall all the information and then finding out that I wasn't paid for some things by different vendors.
Wow.
So then I'm reaching out to them, and now it's 14 months. I mean, it was so not fun. So sorry, it's such a long story. So when I started this, transitioned out of weddings and was doing just whatever I'm doing now. It wasn't really a transition. It just feels like, oh, I'm going to do this now. And then that leads to this and that leads to this. So it's all one continuous entrepreneurial journey. But I had the bookkeeper so that I was not experiencing the February situation. But then every month, I was looking at the reports and saying, no, that isn't right. This goes over here and this goes over here. So I was doing all of this work and then paying them
Mm.
a lot of money. And I just didn't even realize until someone said, um, look
Time
how
out.
much, right, like, look how much you're paying them and how much work you're doing to fix that doesn't make any sense. So why don't you do it yourself? But then I immediately said, oh, no, 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 I can't do
Mhm.
that. So having somebody graciously say, okay, well, what if you tried? So then I
I
tried,
love
and
that.
come to find out, I am the one that has all the information and I know what category it goes in. And so to do it in a fraction of the time and what felt like for free because I was doing it, then that's how QuickBooks becomes your boyfriend because you get a result. You can do the hard thing because somebody told you you can, and you get the result, and then there's no stopping you.
That's awesome. It's becoming addicted to high wins.
Right. So how when you're working with your clients, and I'm sure it's customized based on who that is, but what are the elements that you use to identify, like you said, you had 15 suggestions for this client, but you chose you didn't say high impact, but what was the
I said
term that
high
you
leverage,
used?
but
High
yeah, high
leverage.
impact, high
Yes.
leverage. Hmm.
Yeah. So what do you define as high leverage, and how do you help someone decide that's where they should start?
Yeah, I mean, for financial coaching, it's pretty easy to see what high leverage is because it saves you the most money. So,
Well, it's easy
so
for you to
which
see, but not for the
it's
person.
easy for me to see, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah, that's true. So, if someone has, in this example, they have like a $5,000 tax refund. I'm like, okay, what are you using this tax refund for? Oh, vacation.
Oh,
Nothing
interesting.
like I'm using it for some strategic outlay for
Okay.
private school or anything like that, but just I want it to blow it later on.
Mm,
I was like, well, this could be better used for this immediate, like high credit card debt that we want to pay off. And that you will eventually have an increase in your income going forward forever because we're going to pay this off. So, reducing the withholding there, versus, okay, we're going to cut a $15 subscription, like stuff
right.
like that. People think they go to like the whole latte thing, like, oh, we're going to cut lattes out. But, gosh, boring things, renegotiating insurances, like
Mm,
renegotiating vendors for things that are just a huge ongoing expense month after month that you don't, I want you to pay less. You want to pay less. You don't want to pay any more than you have to. So
right.
you may not even have any internal friction because I'm not asking you to give up stuff that you actually like. You're just trying to
Right.
renegotiate a contract. But maybe no one told you like that was
Yeah,
even
you can
possible.
do that.
Yeah, totally.
How do you do that?
So there's
How do you renegotiate, can you renegotiate your homeowner's insurance?
Yeah, yeah. So this is something that we applied in asset management for commercial real estate is there's a rule on my house where you have to get 2 to 3 quotes.
Okay.
So for very large expenses like annual expenses like this, don't just we're auto renew like no thoughtless, mindless.
Because it goes up
Because it goes up, it only
$1,500
goes up
every
every
year.
year. Yes. don't just accept that, like, okay, cool. Like that's your price that you're coming in with. I'm going to shop around. I'm going to get 2 to 3 more quotes and see. And then lo and behold, maybe they want to come down a little bit. Or if not, then you can pass and give your business to another company. Of course, you want it to be apples to apples what they're covering, but
Right.
at least you'll know, is this the best price that I can get? And no one wants to overpay on that stuff anyway.
Right.
But we just let it renew. These companies are smart and they know that people will just mindlessly let these things go. And so they won't take time, whether it's 1 hour to pull some quotes and make a phone call, to save a huge amount of money.
Right. Well, I mean, last year when I got the quote and it was $1,500 more than the year before, it's like I'm new to budgeting. I'm new to budgeting for this household since I'm divorced now. And it's like, wait a minute, I budgeted for this. I didn't know it changed. And so when I called, the answer, which I wrote on the bill, like the reason for the increase was because. Like really, that's what they said. They're like, well, it just goes up every year. That's how it is. And then I assume that they know
Mm.
and I don't. So it's like, oh, okay then. I don't know how you're supposed to budget for that, but all right, I guess that's
Right.
how it is. So I think there's so much to just this investigating. And I'm 57 years old. Should I know everything by now? Probably. Do I? Not even close. So it's having the ability and really the radical self care to ask for help,
Absolutely.
it's really important.
Yeah, and I think of the what you could be using it for. I'm like, do you want to give $1,500 to this, or do you want to take a vacation with this money? Like that's
Right.
a hard trade. I don't think anyone would. I would take the vacation all day long
Right.
for versus paying more on insurance. So yeah, it really is strategically looking at everything and saying, is that where I want to spend my money? I don't think so.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and
It's
even
just
just
so
having the
good.
thought that you said that it didn't even occur, like sometimes it just doesn't even occur to people. But that was a huge lesson that I learned working for the commercial real estate company was that's, strategic budgeting. And I have what's my simple method, which is another acronym I won't get into, but where we do a line by line audit. And I talk about in my book about how I've had big paradigm shifts in my life that I think that's why I am so open to coaching because I'm like, when sometimes I meet people that have more information that would not have even been on my radar.
Right.
And I had paradigm shifts in my childhood. So my mother was an immigrant from the Philippines. And the way that we lived, this is pre-social media. I did not know that we were living like almost like a third world country in my home until
Mhm.
probably high school, when I did my first sleepover.
Sure.
And and I didn't know this. I saw for the first time there was there's the garden tubs and they have the shower head. I saw a shower head working for the first time.
Oh,
And when I
wow.
grew up, we used the tub to fill a basin full of water and do basin baths. And
Wow.
so I was like, "Oh my God, like no one told me and I didn't get the
Right.
memo." So there are so many things that people take for granted. We just
Oh,
mindlessly spend. We don't even want to spend there, that really need to be just fundamentally broken as the status quo. And I can help you do that because I've had these huge things in my life where I'm like, wow, I didn't know this existed, or wow, I didn't know that people perceive this as a need when like a lot of the world it's not a need. And
right.
if you nix this thing for 6 months to serve your end goal, that's gonna make you a strong person
For
and
sure.
it's gonna make intentional trade-offs. just so a part of you. You're never going to be able to see anything the same way again. You're going to be like, what is the best use of my time? What is the best use of my precious dollars that I work really hard for?
Wow, this is so, I'm having a paradigm shift myself. It's so good because I just didn't even think about approaching this area of my life that was always outsourced. My dad did everything. My mom didn't involve herself or wasn't allowed or whatever. I don't know what their situation was. I just know I grew up in a house where my dad was in charge of all the money. And then in my marriages, I'm a professional, more than one. Um, those husbands handled all the money. And I think I just created a story that says that's how it's supposed to be. And, sometimes they're good people and sometimes they're drug addicts with lots of other people in their life. I mean, like it just is that not my last husband, but my first husband. Just want to make sure everyone knows that. But we only know what we know. And so in taking over the household finances, like I said, I'm 57 years old, but when I took them over 3 years ago, I had the financial prowess of a freshman in college. And I had the credit history of a freshman in college. I didn't have any credit cards in my own name. I didn't have any bank accounts in my own name. And even though my name was on them, I didn't have any access. So I didn't even know how much money there was or how much things cost. So I'm so delighted by this conversation because it feels kind of like the final frontier of, wait a minute, I'm so intentional about everything in my life. And when I get a bill, I just think, oh gosh, oh my God, okay, I got to do that right now. And whatever the due date is, that doesn't matter because the day I got it is the day it's due. And, I think that there's some space for grace
Yes.
and a new learning and a new understanding of all of those things. And the fact that I mean, seriously, I know you've just finished with your first round. I hope you have space on your calendar because I want to do this well. I mean, I want to do everything well, but just the idea that things can be renegotiated, that I've heard recently, which I know you know this and everyone in the world might, but that even interest rates on credit cards can be negotiated. And it has not been a secret that I have relied during my 3-year divorce process very heavily on my credit card investors. And I see them as investors. I do not call that debt. There's no shame. I'm super grateful. And I would like to have some of that money myself
Mhm.
instead of give it all to them just because they're really nice. And so there are so many ways to move through this process of financial literacy, but also financial freedom and relaxation.
Absolutely.
How, and I'm interested not to, I promise I'll be a client. Like, I'm not just trying to get your coaching for free, but the thing that's coming up for me when I said that credit card interest rates can be negotiated, because I had somebody with a finance background suggest that to me, and that made me feel guilty. Like they were so nice and they let me use
Mm.
that money and I needed to. And I feel like it's my responsibility to pay it back for the amount that I said. And, we can make a story about anything. So I would love your thoughts of like, how would you coach me through that nonsense?
There's this tactic called the five whys.
Mm,
So I probably would use the five whys, which is like, why, what is causing this business transaction that on their end, they do not have the same feelings that you do if you were to try to renegotiate, they're not going to feel bad. What is the source of these feelings coming from? So really digging through and
Uh-huh.
understanding. I talk about money triggers in my book, and a
Mm,
lot of my debt, a lot of it was school and achievement, but some of my credit card debt was this upbringing that I had and like wanting to be on the same playing field as other people that grew up differently. And so overspending and a lot of resentment came up. And I just realized that the resentment wasn't serving me, but it took me a while to realize that. So I try to get, if someone is truly blocked and what they're saying just really doesn't make sense. It's just in their head. I try
right.
to get to the root of it. Like, what is holding you back? I'll use an example from my life when I talked with my music business coach. I was having a real hang up on social media
Mhm.
and posting video. It was very difficult. I tend to be private. Had this same experience with the first chapter of my book, how much of myself do I want to put out there? Same thing with the videos. The first video I took, I was like, oh my gosh, I look this way. I don't like my hair. I don't like my makeup. Oh my goodness, whatever. I need Botox now. Like whatever, whatever insecurities came up, came out. And he asked me the five whys, and it was like, why do you want to put the videos out? Oh, okay, because I want to connect with people. Why do you want to connect with people? Oh, because I want to help people. Oh, why? Like getting to that actual root of why this will be a good thing for you, or uncovering some scripts that maybe not serving you anymore.
Oh, it's so good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for writing this book. It is in great contribution. And now I'm so excited to move it off of my TBR pile into July is all about attending to the piles in my life. And I'm really excited and just for further accountability, I'm not adding anything to my calendar.
Awesome.
I've really blocked that off. That is a huge deal for me. And I know that good things are coming and I want to be ready for them. And it's a good foundation. So I'm so grateful for your book, but I'm so grateful that you are not stopping there and that you are providing your brilliance and your service and contribution to others. So please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can get their own copy of the book, and how they can get in line behind me to work with you.
Awesome. So the book is available on Amazon in print and Kindle version. It's called Making Money is Simple. And then you can visit my website, makingmoneyissimple.com. There's also a book link to the bookstore there, as well as other free resources. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Making Money is Simple.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Veronica. I really appreciate your time today. I felt like it was 1,000 times better than our first conversation. So that's just yummy and fun. And I'm so excited to have you come back again for the summit in just a couple of weeks. It's so good.
I'm so looking forward to that. Thank you so much for having me, Wendy.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.